Hey guys, it's Wednesday. I'm Lawrence Presman, the Prez, co-founder of WagerTalk.com and host of The Betting Edge with the Prez. Today's show, Dave Cokin and Rob Veno. We're going to talk a couple of college football games, a couple of NFL games, and an NBA game for you all today. Plus, we've got a great promotion, which we'll talk about in a bit. Let's bring in the guests. Dave Cokin and Rob Veno, how are you guys?
Very good.
Rob?
I'm good today, Prez. I'm good today, buddy. How about yourself?
Awesome, dude. Excited to be doing the show with both of you. Let's get right to it, boys. West Virginia going into Baylor. Baylor is minus 17.5 with an over and under of 55. Dave, I'll go to you first. We did not discuss this game in the college football betting show, which, by the way, has been extremely well received. So thank you to everyone for that. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a pretty easy game for Baylor. If it plays out the way it's supposed to. West Virginia can't run the ball. And you want to keep the ball out of Baylor's hands because they've got a pretty explosive offense. You know, the pressure's on Baylor because they're unbeaten, so they got a lot of big stuff. But West Virginia just doesn't look to me to be a team that's going to present much of a challenge. They can't run. Their quarterback play has been less than inspiring. And, you know, look, it's a standalone, basically a standalone for Baylor. National TV, a chance for them to showcase and have some fun and impress some people. I think they probably will. I would look for Baylor to win the game by 3 touchdowns. I just don't see much resistance from West Virginia here.
Rob Veno, do you agree with Dave on this?
Yeah, I do, and that's even considering, Prez, that I think the line is padded a little bit. I don't know that Baylor should have come out this high. Power ratings that I keep show it probably could have been a couple of points lower. However, the matchup, as Dave described it, really does favor the Baylor Bears. You know, you wouldn't consider, like if I asked you guys who are the top 5 most explosive offenses in college football, statistically, you probably wouldn't put Baylor in there, but they are. They rank number 5 in the country in yards per play, 7.3 per pop. A lot of speed at the running back position. We saw it on display against Oklahoma State. A lot of speed and depth at the wide receiver position. We saw that on display, and they've got an NFL quarterback. Dave, you talked about a standalone game and a chance to highlight yourself. None better than Charlie Brewer to do that for himself in his NFL draft stock. So I do think the offense will be in real good shape here. You know, they've rolled through some decent Big 12 teams here. Iowa State, they beat them. Kansas State, they whacked by 19. Oklahoma State by 18. The latter 2 on the road. Pretty impressive. I think the only thing, if you're West Virginia, guys, and you're looking for positives, the overall schedule that they've played has been really good. Much better than the overall schedule Baylor's played. It's, according to my power ratings, it's 16 points a team on average better. I don't know if that stands up, though, because they're losing these games by double digits. So that probably doesn't make a heck of a difference. One thing, if you're going to bet the game within the game, Baylor totals have gone over in the second half to the clip of 6-1 this year. So maybe something to look at halftime. We'll see how it goes. West Virginia's got some injuries here, guys. Number 2 and 3 tacklers on defense, 2 starting linebackers. A kid for targeting suspension is the number 3 tackler on defense. So there's some issues here for West Virginia that I don't think can be overcome.
He's Rob Veno. You can find him at Sports Memo every day, and Dave Cokin at WagerTalk. Dave was on the college football betting show with Teddy and myself. Check that out. You can find it at our YouTube channel, WagerTalk TV, as well. Dave will be with us tomorrow on Puck Time. Guys, speaking of Puck Time, speaking of hockey, I have my first 5% NHL play of the year up. It goes tonight. I'm on an 18-7 all sports run. I love this play. It's my favorite play so far this season in hockey. And it's regularly priced at $40. You can have it for $20, half price off. Head over to WagerTalk.com and use the promo code PREZ20. Army on the road, playing Air Force. Air Force minus 14, mostly 14.5s with a total of 45.5. Dave, I played against Army last week. I cashed that ticket. Should we be playing against Army again?
What I mentioned, I just posted a 5% college football play for Saturday. So I was going to suggest that for anybody who wants to get it today, and I would recommend getting it today because this line is going to move. Why don't you do that half-price deal for them on the 5% play
No
today?
problem. I will do it. I will set it up while you and Rob take apart the Army game.
Okay, so let's talk about Army and where their season has gone. Because coming into this season, they're coming off this tremendous year in 2018, capped off by an unbelievable performance in the bowl game against Houston where they scored 70 points. They get off to a shaky start. Rice, unimpressive win in week 1. But then they should have beaten Michigan in week 2. Missed field goal, cost them the football game. And everybody thought, well, this is going to be a really good Army team. And it's just gotten away from them. And I've read some stuff on them, and just the atmosphere just isn't what it was last year. I don't know why. I can't tell you that. I'm not in their locker room or at their practices, but they're clearly not the same football team. And last week, here's a good example. They ran 83 plays last week. The opponent ran 49, and they lost the football game. They had 4 turnovers, 4 fumbles in the game. So the option attack that was so lethal last year just has fizzled this season. And it makes it tough to back Army at this point moving forward. The bad news is, if you want to fade them, Army now has basically 2 games left in their season. This game, and of course the Army-Navy game. They're probably not going to make it to a bowl. They're still alive mathematically, but that's slipping away. And Air Force is on a huge roll right now. The Falcons are playing really good football. We have a very big line in this game, and that's the thing that this game won't make my card. But if I had to play it, I would take Army in spite of all their difficulties because of the fact that I know that whatever they've got left in the tank, they're going to put on the field here. And the line, because of the recent form of these two teams, is really high now. Don't get me wrong. Air Force clearly deserves to be favored in the game, but I make it more in the 11 or 12 range. So I think there's a little value on the Army side. Why won't it make my card? Because their option has just been so sloppy lately. I'm worried about them putting the ball on the ground a couple of times. And if you turn the ball over, the Air Force is likely to take advantage. I think Air Force wins and Army covers, but not for anything but monopoly
Rob,
money.
what are your thoughts? You with Dave on this?
Yeah, I'll expand a little bit on what Dave said about Army's season going south. And, Jeff Monken is not a coach that we generally get a lot from. They keep a lot under wraps. But when he talks, he's an honest head coach. He's not somebody that talks in coach speak. So let me give you a quote from him as of earlier this week. I wish I had the answers, but I don't right now. This is an awfully big game Saturday. It's our season within a season. We're going to have to make some fast improvements here to get ready to go west. And that's a coach in desperation, trying to save a season, as Dave indicated. They've got 3 wins. They should end up with at least 5. They're going to have to steal a game, including this one, of 3 of their final 5, which they won't be favored in. Won't be favored at Hawaii. Won't be favored on a neutral against Navy. So they're going to have to steal one to get the bowl eligibility. But their injury list is crazy. Last week, they went through both quarterbacks, wound up with a third-team quarterback who ran the ball pretty well, Christian Anderson. But still, we can't get a lot of injury information out of Army, so it makes me hesitant to play this game either way. But without Kelvin Hopkins, without Jabari Laws, either of the starting 2 quarterbacks, makes it tough. They're without their star free safety, Jalen McClinton, played without him last week. They're on a third-team middle linebacker, so the injuries are just mounting. Now, to that point, Monken said he's hopeful that some of these guys, didn't name anybody by name, some would be able to play on Saturday. I'm sure they'll do whatever they can to get on the field. The Air Force role that Dave talked about, they just dominated Utah State last week. I don't know how you hold Utah State to 128 total yards, but they did it, and then they ran for 448 on that defense. So the last 3 have all been double-digit blowouts. It's a really, really good run defense for sure. For Army, There's still the chance to win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy if they could somehow beat Air Force and Navy. There's their motivation. For Air Force, they've already lost to Army. Their motivation comes in the form of a quote by Jeff Monken last year. They go to the White House, they get the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. President says to the head coach, good job beating Air Force. Air Force is always tough. Monken responds, they're not that tough. And for some, not for some reason, but obviously they pinned that on their bulletin board waiting for this game. So there's motivation, obviously, with the Commander-in-Chief. That's a little extra for Air Force. I don't want to get in the way of the freight train right now. And I'm, like I say, hesitant without knowing the Army injuries to see if I could back Army plus the points. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably be Air Force or
Dave 20. Your code has been set up. You can tweet it out. It's Dave 20. That's $20 for Dave Cokin's 5% college football play, and Dave is 62% on the season in college football. And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. I have 30, 40 handicappers I follow over at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, but these 5 stars are pretty rare for you.
Well, I don't post. I need something in the matchup that really indicates a big advantage. And they're usually short-numbered games, which is the case this week. It's a toss-up game according to the line, but the fundamentals really strongly point to one side. And those are the games I usually like the best. Hopefully it works out.
So there you go, guys. 2 5% plays. One goes tonight. It's mine. You can have it for $20, Prez 20. And Dave Cokin's 5% play that goes on Saturday that you can have for $20. Use the promo code Dave20. Guys, real quick, one NBA game I want to talk to you about, and it's the battle of the 2 undefeated teams. Philadelphia hosting Minnesota, and the line in this game is the home team, Philadelphia, -7 or 7.5, with a total of 222.5. Rob, I'll go to you first.
And last.
What, Dave?
Said you'll go to him first and last because I don't do the NBA.
I will go to you first, and then when you're finished, I will go back to you.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Should I start now?
Yeah, Rob.
Okay.
Start now.
Hey, listen, real simple, guys. The defensive disparity between these two teams is huge. Philadelphia's come into the season with the mindset and with the personnel to be able to defend, which in today's NBA is a little bit rare. But with their size, with their length, their height, they've shown it the first 3 games that they're able to defend really well. Now, one, they played without center Joel Embiid, but he's back here. And let's not forget that Joel Embiid is the man of the famous quote that he owns property inside Karl Anthony Towns' head. That matchup hasn't worked well for the Minnesota center since he's come into the league, and I don't think it'll work out well for him tonight. They need him. He's been dominant, leading them to this opening streak here for Minnesota. And if Embiid can stop him, even contain him, then Minnesota, I don't think, has enough other options against the Philly defense. Philly can't shoot threes, but they found a way to score enough points here. They're good at getting to the rim. Like I say, they're good at getting out on the break off of defense. Free throw shooting's a little bit better. So I think Philadelphia is the way to go here. Prez line is a little stiff at 7.5, but I think they can win this game by more than that. So I would look for Philadelphia back at home in this contest.
I actually do have an NBA comment.
Go ahead.
And I will. Well, okay. And this is why I don't like this league. It's not really why I don't handicap it, because I don't have to love a sport to handicap it, but it's why I don't like the league. It's the 3rd or 4th game of the season. The Clippers are on national TV tonight. And I saw on Twitter that Kawhi Leonard is having a rest night. You got to be fucking kidding me. I mean, I'm sorry. Hockey's a tougher sport than the NBA. It's more physically demanding. It is. Anybody who thinks not is crazy. Those guys don't take nights off. Give me the game where the pros show up. I mean, you got to be kidding me. The 4th game of the season, national TV, and the guy's getting a rest night? No.
Okay, you done, Dave?
You know Kawhi, Prez.
Yeah, I'm
that
done.
That was good. I agree 100%.
It's kind of why I'm done with the NBA.
Well, dude, the NBA has also the stupidest rule in all of sports, the second stupidest rule in all of sports. The first stupidest rule.
We saw the stupidest last night.
What?
We saw the stupidest last night in the baseball game.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about that last night's baseball game. But it was exciting. I put a bet on Washington. So, but yeah, the first stupidest rule in all of sports is the penalty kicks in soccer to end a championship game. But I'll tell you, Dave, you and I watch a lot of hockey, and I always chuckle to myself. Imagine you're down by one. You need a goal to tie it up. There's 20 seconds left. The face-off is in your end, which means your goalie has to go back in the net. So what do? You call a timeout. Then the ref picks the puck up, skates all the way to their end. You pull the goalie. Now you have an extra player, and you just start in their end. That's what basketball does. They actually allow a team to take a timeout, and then the refs literally move the ball.
Yeah, and there's something else. Because the coaches hoard the timeouts, the last 3 minutes of an NBA game take about a half an hour to play. In the NHL, each team gets one timeout. And if you take a challenge during the game and you lose the challenge, you don't even get to keep your timeout. It's a better game. It's just a better game.
Listen, the NBA is the most monotonous piece of poo in the world. I bet on it. I do well betting it. I can't watch an NBA game with your one eye, Dave.
I watch. I'll tell you what I love about the NBA is the post-game show with Shaq and Barkley and Kenny Smith and Ernie Johnson. And even though I don't watch the games, I'll turn on that show because it's really entertaining. It's the best thing about the NBA.
He's Dave Cokin. Rob Veno with us, guys. 2 NFL games. Philadelphia hosting Chicago -5.
Ooh.
Ralph and I are taping the NFL presidential address tonight. My apologies to everyone. It's normally up at this time on Wednesday, but I have, a friend of mine's mother died, so I have to run, and then I had to take my kid to the doctor, and it's just been that kind of a day. So I'm going to go into my opinion on that game later with Ralph, but the bottom line for me is I really like Philadelphia here. Mitch Trubisky could not quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Mitch Trubisky would struggle to quarterback a high school team. This guy's an utter disaster. The coach is not giving up on him. The Chicago team is struggling to move the ball. And I think Philadelphia is going to go on a run right now. They know the Dallas team is playing the Giants, likely will get a win. I think Philadelphia is going to win this game. Dave, I hear you're laughing.
I'm laughing because you said you're going to save your opinion on the game.
No, not my opinion, my full analysis. I still have to give out an opinion. Okay. Philadelphia minus the 5. Go, Mr. Cokin.
I'll mildly disagree with one thing. I don't think Trubisky, he might not be any good, but they run a West Coast offense. It's the most complex offense in football. And to ask a guy who had one season of starting experience, and it wasn't in a West Coast offense, that's for sure, at North Carolina, to come in and master this offense in this span of time, that's pretty tough. Now, that's not a defense of Trubisky, but it's a suggestion that if Trubisky's going to be your quarterback, maybe you shouldn't be running an offense that's as complex as the West Coast. Maybe you should be running something a lot more simplified. The guy's a good athlete. Why not play to his strengths? And if you look at a couple of the games this year that the Bears have played, and again, it's not a defense of Trubisky because he certainly hasn't won games for them, but I think it can make a good case that Nagy, who did a great job last year, is doing an equally horrendous job this year, not putting his position, or I should say putting his team in the worst position to win the game. He completely botched the play calling at the end of the first half last week. I have no idea why they didn't try and run something late in the game to get a little closer than 41 yards, which is not a gimme field goal with an unproven kicker. So, and these are things that, to me, can tear apart a locker room because the players, look, I was around a couple of pro teams growing up, and you don't always see the stuff in the newspaper as to what's really being said behind closed doors. But a lot of times when teams are going badly, the players might put up a good front when the reporters are there. But when the reporters aren't there, they're absolutely crushing the coach. I mean, crushing the coach. And I think a lot of that might be going on in Chicago right now. The Eagles are coming off their best game of the year. Philadelphia will be a huge public side in this game for obvious reasons. And you know what? I can't disagree with the public. I think the Eagles are the only way to play.
Yeah, and did you hear Nagy's reasoning for not running the ball? Oh, they knew we were going to run
absurd.
it, so they would have stopped us in the backfield.
He said we could have gotten a holding penalty. We could have. Yeah, you could. A lot of things could happen.
Yeah, you could have run a play-action pass and thrown a screen.
Well, I wouldn't throw a pass, but you could run the ball and maybe get an extra 2 yards instead of backing up 1.5 yards.
Anyway, Rob Veno, Dave, and I both like Philadelphia. Where are you going with this game?
Yeah, and let's lay some of that blame, guys, on the place kicker who couldn't kick a field goal through the uprights that a high school kicker could make from that distance. It just bad play call, bad everything for the Bears. I think last week when you start to evaluate Philadelphia, and it's not rocket science here, guys, but I think you saw exactly where that team is at. If you cannot beat their secondary, if you don't have the passing attack to beat their secondary, then you're probably not going to beat the Eagles. In games where that decimated secondary has faced good passing attacks, they've been demolished, blown off the field. Last week, Buffalo can't throw the football with Josh Allen and the conditions that were presented to them, even though they tried to throw it quite a few times. Philly pass defense holds up, as decimated as it is. They win the game pretty big. Doug Peterson changed his play calling a little bit, goes to 41 runs. I think they were 60-40 run last week. They ran for 218. They did it without Jason Peters at left tackle. They just subbed in Andre Dillard, the first-round draft pick, and they did a fine job running the football. So both of these teams need to run, in my estimation, to be successful. Both of these defenses are outstanding run defenses. If that becomes a neutral factor and they negate each other, which they may not, because Jordan Howard, ex-Bear running back, is going to have a little bit of motivation here against his old team. But if they do neutralize each other, you have to go to the Eagles. Carson Wentz, the better quarterback, he's got the better weapons. Both tight ends are in there now. Even if Deshaun Jackson doesn't play, again, he's got the better weapons. For me, Peterson may try to run the football again. The talk here, and I'm very close, I'm 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia, and the constant pounding from the media base and from the fan base is let's run the football a little more. So we'll see if he does it. We'll see if they're successful doing it. I think the biggest problem with the Bears right now, guys, and in the NFL, nationally, the quarterbacks always draw the ire when the team is going bad. But they don't block worth a damn, guys. Every one of those plays you see is not blocked well at all. I don't know where the running backs are supposed to run. I don't know where Trubisky's supposed to hide. Thank God he can run a little bit. Just don't like the Bears at this point in time. I think the Eagles are better balanced, and the Bears can't, attack what the Philly Eagles are weak in.
Yeah, and don't forget, Philadelphia's got one of the best run defenses in football.
They do.
Yeah, so Trubisky's really going to have to put the ball in the air. And, well, his balls do go in the air. They just don't land in the right place.
Yeah, I think he leads the league. I think he does lead the league in overthrows.
Yeah. Mitch overthrow Trubisky. Listen, let's talk Pats. Love this game. It's a Sunday night game. I'm already in play on this game. Dave, you'll like this, dude. I took a 4-team parlay last night. I never do parlays, but I'm on a roll. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw a parlay down. It was like $32, pays $800. I took Boston -1.5, Nashville -1.5, and Pittsburgh -1.5. All three covered, and I hooked it up with Baltimore. So you know where I'm going. Listen, I can ask you guys a bottom line question, and I want each of you to answer this seriously. We've both been watching NFL for many years. I've been watching NFL for 42 years of my life. And there's been some bad teams along the way. Obviously, Detroit and their, Cleveland over the last 10 years. Dave, I ask you this question. Has there, in your memory, ever been 4 teams at the same time that are as bad as Washington, the New York Giants, Washington, the New York Jets, Cincinnati, and Miami? Have you ever seen a 4-pack of teams that bad?
No. No, but the problem is, and this is a serious answer. The problem is that you're going to see more of this because of the fact that the draft is structured to reward teams who lose football games. It's just a bad concept. And I talked about this. This is interesting because he talked about this yesterday on the radio show. I think all the leagues have to scrap the draft as it stands because you're seeing tanking taking place. You saw it for back-to-back seasons with the 76ers and the NBA. You're seeing it in spectacular fashion with Miami this year. Miami is literally trying to lose football.
What league don't you see it in, Dave?
None of them.
Hockey.
And,
they go out and try to win, Dave.
Yeah, but I thought there was. I thought the Devils tried to lose some games late last season. Okay,
it's not as blatant.
No, it's not as blatant. Okay, so there is a solution. Get rid of the concept that the best team has to draft last and the worst team has to draft first. I don't know if you guys play fantasy sports. I've played fantasy sports for years. Okay. When a new season starts, the draft is not based on who won last year.
Yeah,
and who
that's
lost.
not a good analogy, Dave, because you don't keep the same players.
Let me finish. Okay? It's a lottery. Everybody has an equal chance. And it's a snake draft.
I can't believe they don't do snake drafts.
If you get stuck, if you get the first pick, the first overall pick, in the next round, you've got the last overall
total
pick.
sense.
It's a simple concept. Stop rewarding teams for losing games on purpose. Go to a lottery system and do a snake draft. You'll never see anybody tank again. You'll never see it again because you don't necessarily want to have the first overall pick, even though that might be the best pick, because then you're not drafting again until pick number 64 in the NFL. And that's my solution for it in all sports.
Okay, but the bottom line, Dave.
If anybody wants to argue against that, you can argue against that, but I can tell you this. It's better than what we have now because anytime you have teams losing on purpose, the integrity of the game is seriously in question.
Which is why ultimately you can't bet this Jets-Miami game. But Dave, the question I asked you and you answered is, have you ever seen four teams so bad at the same time? And you said no. Rob Veno, in your recollection, have you ever seen four teams so bad altogether?
I really can't say that I have, Prez.
Okay, so with that said, New England has played those four teams 6 times. They also played the 5th worst team, the New York Giants. So they're 8-0. We can all argue that 7 of those games were against minor league Canadian football teams. We can all argue that they've really only played 1 game. And in that game, it was in Buffalo. They were outgained by close to 100 yards. They couldn't score 1 single offensive touchdown. And they won that game on a blocked punt. Baltimore is the play. Go ahead, Dave.
Everything you said is right. And I'm going to give you just one simple thing as a rebuttal. This is going on 20 years now. 20 years. The Patriots have covered 63% of the time. I don't bet against New England. I don't necessarily bet on them, but I just don't.
Dave, I said that.
That's not even a small sample anymore. You're talking about, 20 years at that rate, and they're the most public team in the NFL on top of that, and they just keep covering spreads. So, I don't like getting beat in the head with an iron, and I don't like getting beat on my bets by going against the Patriots. So I can't argue with anything you said. You make a great case for the Ravens. That, to me, is
and Dave, that's like, I'm telling you flat out, I have the Ravens in this parlay that will pay a shit ton if they win. I'm not releasing the Ravens. I will never bet against New England. So I agree with you. But people who are going on and on about New England's defense, well, they haven't played an offensive team. They haven't played a team, not even a team with an offense this entire season.
Although you can also argue they also
Right.
haven't shown much yet.
But
they've probably been keeping things under wraps.
Brady's struggling to stretch the field right now. Rob Veno, what do you think?
I think that I won't disagree with any of the negatives you brought up about New England, but I could bring up some serious negatives about Baltimore as well. While New England hasn't played anybody, they've dominated everybody. I mean, statistically, they're a fantastic run defense, fourth in the NFL right now. Again, against weak opposition. They're the number one pass rush team in the NFL, 31 sacks, weak opposition. They're the number two pass defense.
You know what, Rob? I got to stop you. Throw all that garbage away.
Go ahead.
Like, really, like if you're playing TCU and Baylor and UCF every week and you're a professional football team and you're the Pats, you better be dominating in every one of those statistics. Throw all that shit away, dude. Come on.
All right, so that's going to play into what I'm going to say about Baltimore right there. You helped the argument against Baltimore a little bit. Baltimore's played no better, Prez. 2 teams above 500 all season long. Tell me how much better Miami, Arizona, Cincinnati,
I agree.
the list goes on for that team, what they played. Now, that being said, their statistics are brutal. They play good run defense, but against a shitty schedule, they're 28th in sacks. They only have 12. Where's that fabulous Raven pass rush against lousy teams? And they're 26th in pass defense with a banged up secondary, albeit. But where is the pass defense against lousy teams? So I think they both played bad schedules. Baltimore's is a little bit better, but New England's dominated theirs. Baltimore hasn't theirs. And the last thing I'll say about it is Bill Belichick, I mean, the adage, we all know it. He makes young quarterbacks look silly. He's made a bunch of them look silly so far. I'm not saying that he'll make Lamar Jackson look silly because John Harbaugh's had a week off to get ready for this game. And there's probably something up his sleeve. But Belichick defending Jackson will not be like some of these other teams defending Jackson where they come out and say, wow, that's the best guy we've ever played against. I feel like this Baltimore freight train gambling-wise this week could end up like the Boomer Schooner a couple weeks ago, going sideways with everybody falling out. I'm not on the game. I'm just trying to present the case against Baltimore.
Guys, we got to call it a show, but I just want everyone to know, look, I love New England. I love, they've been a dominant team for half of my life. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. And I'm not suggesting that they can't win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying they have played literally nobody this season. He's Dave Cokin.
By the way, they're going to bring the free safety up as an extra weapon to defend the run against Jackson this weekend. I'm quite sure they'll do that.
Okay, boys, great show, guys. Dave Cokin's got a 5% play for Saturday, half price. Use the promo code Dave20. I have a 5% NHL play tonight. It's my first one of the year. Use the promo code Prez20. Rob Veno, you and I are doing another video later today. I can't wait. Boys, it was a pleasure. Prez out.